College football is back, and so we're back here on the Big Mountain to do a special preview for the Lobos versus the Aggies. I want to welcome a special guest to the channel. We have Roger Holien here. Good to have you with us.
Good to be with you, Jason.
Hey,
Jason?
I know you are a volunteer chaplain there with the Lobos. You're also a writer for the Mountain West Connection. Real quick, just tell our viewers where maybe they can find you on the socials or wherever you may be at.
Yeah, the MWCConnection.com. Anything New Mexico, I cover New Mexico football and basketball. I was previous with the Mountain West Wire, and now it's the Mountain West Connection. So pretty much I cover the Lobo major sports. I met all the pressers and all the coaches. A lot of the families there. Been involved with the program since 1999. First year with Rocky, then Danny Gonzalez, Loxley, now Jason Eck.
Very good. Well, let's talk about this game coming up. We got two teams coming in, 2-1 here. The Lobos here have wins versus Idaho State and UCLA. The Aggies have wins versus Tulsa and Bryant. They're both coming off byes, so very well prepared here for this interstate rivalry. So just want to hear from you, like right now, we'll get into the game here in a minute, but I just want to hear what's the atmosphere like, the vibes like in Lobo Nation right now, starting 2-1. I know Jason Eck is really getting the fans excited. What's it like down there?
Well, I tell you what, Coach Eck has done a wonderful job as far as capturing the community. Um, I thought Danny Gonzalez was good. This guy is another level, and Danny did a wonderful job when he was here as well because he's a hometown hero here. Jason Eck and company have come in, and I wasn't too sure what to think of him because I saw his resume. He's won pretty much everywhere went. Every coach has had a different style. I've seen them all. Bronco Mendenhall last year, they earn their shirts, they earn their numbers. You're a media guy, so you go into practice and you don't know who is who. And then you had Rocky Long before that. Rocky was a tough, tough, physical guy. I tell you what, and then Mike Loxley as well. But the atmosphere right now, currently, is they're selling some tickets now. The community is finally jumping on board. Of course, New Mexico has always traditionally been Lobo basketball with the pit,
Right.
and people love the Lobos here. I mean, we're a college town like CSU, Fort Collins there with the Rams, Wyoming, and when you have a college town and you're the only show in town. So Coach Eck comes into town, and him and his wife Kimberly have done a fantastic job. They've got a good coaching staff. I had people ask me, "What do you think of this team?" And it was kind of hard to tell because it was so different. I was so used to the Rocky Long style. And I tell you what, he's come in. I believe they've sold out student tickets. They're pushing 30,000. We haven't
Mm.
seen that in a few years. And I've been to games where Rocky Long sold out, and that's been a few years.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, we haven't had the greatest attendance as far as Lobo football, but it's Coach Eck is changing that. You can see it.
Fantastic and really good stuff on the field so far. What maybe has impressed you the most about this team? Of course, we're early, only 3 games in, but as a guy that's been covering the team kind of through the offseason and into the first 3 games, if there's one or two items that you could pinpoint and be like, wow, that has been the most impressive part so far. Is there anything that you can pinpoint there?
Just Coach Eck's style. It's completely different.
Hmm.
He's kind of a loose, um, friendly, friendly as all get out. You have interviews with him. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And then you talk to people who know him. He's pretty much won wherever he's gone. And then he pulls in Jack Lane, the quarterback. And I think Jack Lane has been a real calming force.
Hmm.
Of course, I've seen a lot of quarterbacks come through here. Casey Kelly, Donovan Dent.
Yeah.
We had the transfer from UAB. And I've seen them all. They have different styles. What has impressed me the most is his staff, how friendly they are, how opening they are. Every coach has a different style. Bronco Mendenhall, you weren't allowed to go. They had close practices,
Yeah.
and so it was tough to get there. I mean, it was like you were allowed to come in at if they said 10 to 10:30, you're out by 10:30,
Yeah.
and just how it was. This guy completely has opened the practices for the community. He's everywhere. He's gone to the everything from all these different things that you see in Albuquerque. You see him online, taking selfies and doing radio shows. Their radio show this week was packed.
Ah.
This community just loves this coach. So I'm not surprised by his success.
Really personable guy. I got a chance to meet him at the Mountain West Media Days there a couple months ago. So I was fortunate to have that one-on-one conversation with him, and I follow him on the socials, and you see him. He's taking the team out to the ball game, and he's taking his team and all these different places, and that's what builds the excitement, for the program, for the players, and then obviously winning. Certainly, you got to do that to get the fans excited, but. Seems like he's got the whole thing. Let's get a little bit. Let's dive into the game here a little bit more. I mean, here at New Mexico, you guys have a pretty even attack right now in terms of pass rush. But I'll tell you, the rush game versus UCLA is what really stood out to me there. And you've got a pretty good stable here with Humphrey, with Bankston, with McKinney. I want to hear from you as to kind of where we're at health wise. I know Humphrey got kind of banged up there in the UCLA a game. Where are we at with running backs? But whether you go with one, two, or three, they all look very capable of carrying the load.
Yeah, they're every player has different styles. I would say Scott Trey Humphrey, according to coach, he should be good to go for the game.
Okay.
I saw him on the sidelines. I was at the game last week. I was up in the media section with my binoculars. I was looking at him, and he was moving his foot a little bit, and the trainers were running him up and down the sideline. And you thought, oh my gosh, this guy's dominating. Now, a lot of those fourth and short calls that Coach Eck did, I think two of them on goal line went for it, and they stopped us.
Yeah.
I think he would have made those. Bankston's a little bit different style of a back, a little bit more. He's not quite as thick, if you will, or muscular. And Scott Trey Humphrey reminds me of a muscular Dontrell Moore, if you will. Dontrell was shake and bake type of. They're all different.
Yeah.
But Bankston just came out and lit lights out.
Hmm.
And I think coming into the Aggie game, that's going to be a big concern for them because this Lobo team are good at rushing the ball. And if you can rush the ball, you can be in most ball games. They're very balanced. Then you have Jack Lane throwing, and you have a core of receivers. Dorian Thomas, he's got 168 receiving yards. He's a tight end. And you didn't see him last game too much. They were keying on him. And I
Right.
brought that up in the presser to coach. I said, do you have plans for him? He said, absolutely. But they were doubling down. They had safeties coming down. You had to double down on Dorian. They were really keying on him because he's 6'4", a
Yeah.
tight end that can move like a receiver.
Yeah.
So they've got a lot of weapons. Running back room, the offensive line have done a fantastic job. That's the big discrepancy if you see these two teams. I think the Aggies are averaging like 1.9 yards per rush.
Yep.
Wow, that's yikes. That's tough. Yeah, so you're relying on the throwing, and their quarterback is awesome. Logan Fife, he's got 752 passing yards,
Right.
five TDs, great running program. But the problem, if you don't have run game, you become one dimensional.
Yeah.
You don't need to load the box, if you will, to stop the run with a team like this. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do it. Now, on any given day, any team can be beat, but it looks like the Lobos are pretty darn balanced. So we'll see.
I mean, it certainly looks like that when you look at the numbers. And of course, every game has a different feel. If the run game's going, you're probably going to run a little bit more than pass. And so, having different options there is key to anybody. And I do want to get back to kind of that Aggies, very pass heavy. We'll get to that back to that here in a minute. But I want to ask about the receiving core here for the Lobos. Certainly, we talked about the tight end and Thomas, and of course, he is a receiver. But right now, there's no wide receiver with a touchdown yet. Is that a concern at all, or you just think that's just the way the games have played out? How are we feeling here with the wide receiver position?
Well, I think the most outstanding as far as numbers are concerned, not eye-popping numbers, is Michael Buckley. And Buckley, I believe, was a walk-on under the scholarship, and he's not the biggest kid,
Yeah.
just a for utility, catches the ball, does well, but that's a concern. Absolutely, that's a concern. So you tend to rely more on the spread, your tight ends. They've got a pair of tight ends, of course. Dorian Thomas is one. We have another big tight end you haven't heard. I forgot his name's Cade. Forgot his last name, but anyway, they're big. They're like we're talking 6'4" big, where
Yeah.
you have matchup problems with the little DBs because most of your DBs tend to be that 5'11" to 6'1", 6'2" range. Abraham Williams at the corner spot for defense is another player that they're doing well. That is a concern, because you've got to be able to throw the ball. And Jack Lane, I think, has been one of the most. I've seen them all. I've seen every quarterback since when Dennis Franchione, Casey Stoney Case, excuse me.
Yeah, yeah,
He's a quarterback that had 10,000 yards rushing, and I've seen them all. This guy's a little different. He's not the biggest guy
yeah.
at 6'2", but he definitely has so much poise. So it's going to be interesting to see how he handles the pressure of the Aggies, because the Aggies, people don't understand who are not from here. This game to them is everything.
Yeah.
It's like their Super Bowl. I was here when Brian Urlacher played, and Brian was receiving punts. And I remember in one game he dropped the punt. Sorry, Brian. Brian's a friend. But I remember he was upset in the locker room. He was tearing up because he was such a competitive guy.
Yeah.
But the way the Aggies beat the Lobos normally is through emotional. They kind of get the Lobos under their skin a little
Mhm.
bit, and Coach Eck has known that. I remember one year they literally walked across the field while the Lobos were warming up, and so both teams. I mean, you had that dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure about Tony Sanchez teams.
Right.
I know they go back far, but that is a concern on the receivers. You got to find guys you can throw the ball to and get them in open spaces.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see if maybe we can get that passing game going. Again, they're pretty balanced, but you got to get some of those receivers going, as you mentioned. I want to go to the other side. You mentioned, this pass heavy offense so far for the Aggies. Only one of their six touchdowns have come on the ground. The other five have been in the air. And as you mentioned, surprisingly, through three games, even though they're 2-1. Their average yards per carry, 1.9. That is not going to help you win too many games if you're that low in yards per carry. But you mentioned Logan Fife. This is a guy that I knew from his days at Fresno State because we cover all of the Mountain West. So I remember him there. He's at Montana last year. And so far, it seems kind of like this offense goes through the quarterback.
Yeah.
And certainly with the air and stuff. How do you think the Lobos D is going to be able to kind of keep him under wraps? Because right now it looks like if you can control Fife's game, you probably are going to control the defensive side of the ball there against the Aggies. How are you feeling against that quarterback?
Well, I think you're spot on. If I'm a defensive coordinator and I have a newbie, number one, that's his number. I don't know if you've seen him play. I believe he'll be playing on Sunday. He's that good.
Yeah.
This guy is amazing. Now we have another kid that just came from Great Britain, and for some reason his name escapes me, but he just got off the plane basically. He played 27 plays for the Lobos,
Hmm.
and he basically he's 6'6", defensive tackle. I mean, this Lobo defensive tackles are big this year. I think that the Lobos are going to be the pass rush is going to be a huge problem for the Aggies. They're that good. They don't stun a lot. They stay in technique. And this newbie, number one, he's a transfer and he's amazing. Keyshawn Newbie. If you watch him, your viewers going to want to watch this kid. I think he potentially 6'3", 6'4", 240. Just had a baby. I think his girlfriend had a baby 2 weeks ago. So
Okay.
he's hungry and motivated. I talked to him a little bit, but this dude's a player. Ask UCLA.
Yes.
You know, I mean, we're talking a guy who's competing against Michigan and UCLA. So will the Aggies double up on him? I don't know. You would think they would have to on the
Yeah.
defensive tackles. He's an edge rusher. So when you have a strong edge rusher, good technique, your quarterback is going to be under duress. So you're probably going to see a couple sacks out of him. We'll see. I haven't seen the Aggies play enough to say how they're going to do it, but I
Sure.
know the strengths of the Lobos because I cover them, of course,
Right.
Mountain West Conference teams.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a fun factor to see. You're going to be able to tell right away, can the Aggies run the ball? Can they pass the ball? If they can't pass the ball, it's going to be a long day for the Aggies.
For
So
sure.
if they can pass the ball, they've got a chance. Every team, if they come more prepared than the Lobos, obviously they can come in and upset the Lobos on any given day. Any team can be beat.
Especially in a rivalry game. I mean, these games can always play havoc. Not just this game, but covering the Mountain West. You got the border war and so many things. We just had the Apple Cup and the Civil War with the, Washington State, Oregon. So
Oh, the
all kinds
Holy
of
War.
crazy things can happen. So
Remember the Holy War with Utah and BYU?
that's
Oh
right.
my
Yes.
God.
Yes.
Ask Bronco Mendenhall about that. He used to
Yeah.
tell stories about he didn't like going into town because he didn't want to deal with all the stuff that goes along with that.
Crazy things can happen, but the odds makers here have New Mexico, as the favorites here. About the line's about 14, give or take. So
That's
about
right.
2 touchdown favorite here. I think they're kind of seeing a little bit of what we talked about here in terms of the physicality of this team, how well this team's running, and how well the defense has played so far. Is there anything? I mean, we sit here 2-1, but the one loss was against Michigan. We see how well Michigan has been playing, and they're always one of the best teams in the country. They Lobos went up there and handled business pretty well. They
Yeah.
covered the spread. It didn't get away from them at all. So let's talk. We talked about this game. Let's just briefly talk about the rest of the season. We're going to start getting into Mountain West play here very, very soon. Expectations kind of for the team that from you that maybe changed now a little bit that you've seen them play a couple
Yeah.
games, but like, what do you think? What do you think we're going to get out of a conference season?
Well, let's, I know what the staff is thinking. I have a son who he offered to pay for tickets for the Packers and the Bears. I'm a big Bears fan.
Okay,
December the 20th, 5 days before Christmas. And so me and my son are going out there. Well, I'm talking to the operational manager, David, there for UNM. He goes, "We plan on we plan on being in a bowl game, Roger."
sure,
Uh, okay. And now that I've seen them play, I don't see that as too far off.
yeah,
I think with the Lobos, the key with the Lobos' success this season, because the Mountain West Conference is tough, week to week. I mean,
yep,
just oh no. I mean, you thought Boise was just going to dominate, and you see how Boise struggled a little bit. Wyoming is always physical, well-coached teams, and the Lobos. If I'm not, I'm pretty sure I'm correct at this. I know it was the Steel magazine said that they were the only team that played all the top four teams this year.
mm,
So the Lobos have a tough schedule,
yeah,
and it's like they've been prepared. Now with the Aggies, you don't want to go 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
right,
What Coach Eck was saying at his press conference yesterday, he always repeats the mantra to his team: "We can't have the Lobos beat the Lobos."
mm,
And they're very well coached. You don't see a lot of penalties. It's funny because this team really doesn't have a lot of superstars. They're good, but they're just well coached and they play well together. They get along great. And I think that you can pretty much give Coach Eck and staff credit there because they've worked a lot on things during the offseason and building the rapport, building team bondmanship, if you will. And it's interesting because the way college football is now, I was talking to my wife about this, big college football fans. I think the teams that are going to be successful, the coaching staffs, because of the high turnover, because you're talking a team that had 55 new
yeah,
players.
yeah,
I mean, think about that. If you get a team, and I remember under Rocky's regime, you could get 4 or 5 guys come in and change the dynamics of the team. That's, I mean, you talk about culture.
yes,
5 new players. And for them to do as well as they've done screams how well the coaching staff has done at putting together the team. So you're going to have a kind of a template system, I think, with the high turnover. I'm glad. I know Coach Eck was happy that they stopped the spring transfer portal
yeah,
and put it down to one, which is a big deal because you just have to have a template where players can fly to the ball, they can play well, because well, be honest, every team's gonna be different every year, and don't feel sorry for yourself because every team's dealing with the same thing.
yes.
Bottom line.
Yeah, no doubt. And I appreciate you bringing up the penalties because I was looking over some stats here, getting ready for our discussion, and the Lobos are a very low penalized team, of course, through 3 games, but it speaks to some of the things that you just were talking about. So, last thing I want to ask you here: any sort of prediction you want to give? It can be a score prediction. It can just be, I think it's going to be a close game. As I said, the odds makers think this is a double-digit 2 touchdown game. What are your thoughts here as a prediction?
Well, I tell you what, if the Lobos win the toss, this is a big win, and they take the ball down and score on the first possession, it's gonna be a long day for the Aggies.
Mm,
Um, if the Lobos lose the toss and the Aggies come out with the shock factor, and I've watched the Aggies play for years and years and years. When you're, and I want to be careful what I say because I don't want to disrespect the Aggies at all, but over the years I've seen them play the Lobos, and the way they've beaten them is usually trick plays or they catch the Lobos off guard.
Hmm.
Some of the Lobo players didn't pay attention to the coaches as far as if they lose every game and beat the Lobos, they've had a successful year.
Yeah.
That's how they feel. I mean, it's almost a level of hate. You have to be there. So trust me, guys. Go walk down in a Lobo t-shirt down during a game. Go walk through there tailgating it, and you'll see what I'm saying. But if the Lobos, I think the Lobos come out ahead. I think my prediction on my article is 38-21.
Okay.
And I'm going to hold fast to that. I think the Lobos are too balanced. If you cannot run the ball, you've got a problem winning games. They're kind of lucky to be 2-1
Yeah.
because 1.9 yards per rush. You've got to be able to run the ball in football.
Yep.
And then the Lobos have actually three great running backs. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun, very entertaining game to watch. I think they're close to being. I think they might. I don't know if they're going to sell out, but Coach Heck wanted 30,000 tickets, and they're getting close to that. We haven't seen that since, oh my gosh, since Rocky was here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm excited about it.
Well, I know they mentioned that the student section sold out. I know they're definitely the bottom bowl here, the bottom section of both sides look like it's pretty well filled up. And really thankful you were able to come on the channel here. Thank you so much for giving us some time.
Oh, no problem, no problem. One thing I want to give a shout out to is the AD too. He's changed the culture here. Lobo,
Yes.
that's his real name, Lovo, Fernando Lobo,
Yeah.
and he has done everything. They've changed from the different treats they sell, all the food they sell. He's
Mm,
changed things up. Not old Lobo dogs. Now they're bringing in new food. They've taken a cue out of the isotopes across the street. If you serve good food, they come to the game.
mm.
And new billboard, new cameras. They just have been very successful at changing a lot of things that mean a lot to the average fan. Make it worth my while to
Yep.
go to the game and have a good time.
Yep. You're hearing that a lot. The fan engagement, the fan experience, it all matters. You know, you got to put a good product on the field, but anymore, you got to have that all-encompassing environment. So appreciate the shout out to AD Lovo. We were able to speak with him as well, and just a great guy. I want to make sure I visit Lobo Nation here in the coming year or two because I'm super excited for what they have going on down there. So, hey, everybody that's watching this, make sure you check out Roger's write-up on this. More information there on the Mountain West Connection. And we thank you guys for watching this episode. Make sure you smash the like button. You subscribe if you like our content. Cover everything Mountain West. And with that, we'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.